Ed Burke is one of the most interesting characters in Netflix's Woman of the Hour, and here's why the True Story film decided not to completely base the game show host on the real-life Jim Lange. Woman of the Hour tells the true story of serial killer Rodney Alcala, a notorious criminal who also appeared on an episode of The Dating Game in 1978 during the middle of his murder spree. Anna Kendrick's directorial debut is a major hit on Netflix, and while much of Woman of the Hour's story is true, Ed Burke is one notable exception. Due to the film mixing many real elements with many fictionalized elements, there has been a lot of fact-checking for Woman of the Hour since its release on Netflix. While most of the details surrounding the real-life murders that Rodney Alcala committed are true, most of the reality bending that occurs in Woman of the Hour is centered around the dating game. While the game show is real, some of the characters that are present during the game show scenes are changed, amalgamations of other characters, or entirely new, such as Tony Hale's Ed Burke. Jim Lange inspired Woman of the Hour's Ed Burke, but the character is still fictionalized. Ed Burke is not meant to be the real host. In Woman of the Hour, Tony Hale plays Ed Burke, who is presented as the host of the dating game in the film. However, Ed Burke was not the real host when Rodney Alcala appeared on the game show. Instead, the host of the dating game was Jim Lange. While Ed Burke parallels Jim Lange when it comes to appearance, demeanor, and his role in Woman of the Hour, a lot of Ed Burke is fictionalized, with Tony Hale's character only being inspired by Jim Lange. In real life, Jim Lange was a prolific game show host who worked on all kinds of popular TV series, such as Hollywood Connection, The New Newlywed Game, and The Dating Game. Although The Dating Game has gotten new episodes as recently as 2021, Jim Lange only hosted the show from its start in 1965 to its syndicated run in 1978. Thus, Jim Lange was around for Rodney Alcala's 1978 appearance on The Dating Game, with his role in the episode being similar to how Ed Burke's role in The Dating Game was portrayed in Woman of the Hour. The deeper meaning behind Ed Burke's role in Woman of the Hour. He plays into Woman of the Hour's main theme. Although Ed Burke is not the antagonist of Woman of the Hour, the character serves a major role in developing the film's themes. Much of Woman of the Hour is centered around the sexism and misogyny of Hollywood, with Anna Kendrick's Cheryl Bradshaw facing it at every corner during her time on The Dating Game. The film uses Ed Burke to show that these game shows weren't as perfect as they seemed on screen, with Ed Burke's sexism and unprofessional behavior becoming apparent when the cameras aren't rolling. The victims of Hollywood that are presented in Woman of the Hour are directly paralleled with the victims of Rodney Alcala's murders and sexual assaults, with the film making a statement about systemic versus interpersonal sexism. While Woman of the Hour is obviously presenting Alcala's crimes as the atrocities they are, the film is also highlighting that the same patterns of behavior that led to Alcala's crimes are deeply ingrained in Hollywood. Ed Burke and Rodney Alcala are presented as two sides of the same coin, possibly explaining why Woman of the Hour used a fictionalized version of Jim Lange. What happened to The Dating Game's Jim Lange? After Rodney Alcala's The Dating Game appearance, Jim Lange left The Dating Game after its 1978 syndicated run, although he was far from done hosting game shows. Lange hosted game shows well into the 1980s, with him being the face of programs like Bullseye, $100,000 Name That Tune and Triple Threat. Lange became a celebrity in his own right, with him appearing as himself on shows like Laverne and Shirley, Bewitched, and the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. Before being a game show host, Jim Lange got his start as a disc jockey, something that he returned to in the 1990s. Lange continued disc jockeying in the Bay Area until he retired in 2005. Jim Lange continued to live in California until he died of a heart attack on February 25, 2014, putting an end to the life of one of the figures who inspired the story of Woman of the Hour.